Hi students, it's Mrs. Burkhart, and I wanted to run through some of the things we did today in class when editing this photo. All right, to begin, the first thing that I did is Command J, and that will duplicate our background layer. I think it's a good habit to get in before you do anything else, to just duplicate that background layer. All right, now the next thing I'm going to talk about is cropping this image. This has got a lot of empty space around it, some awkward space here. It's a kind of unusual pose with the elbow jutting way out and her gaze going the other direction. So let's experiment a little bit. The crop tool, it looks like stitches up here in your toolbox, and I would click on it, and then I would make sure you had no numbers up in your options bar with width, height, or resolution. Keep those empty. If there happens to be a number up there, just highlight it and hit return or delete, and that'll get rid of it. All right, let's click and drag starting in the upper left and just pull a box until you've completely surrounded the person. It doesn't really matter how it starts because you have handles, these little boxes on all edges that allow you to drag and reformat your crop before you actually commit to it by checking the check or hitting return. All right, now traditionally, if her gaze is going this way, you want some empty space in the direction she's looking. But this arm is rather awkward. If I was going to keep it this way, I'd probably go and crop some of that awkward elbow. I for sure would never leave the crop so that her elbow touched the edge of the frame. Likewise, with her head, I wouldn't do this either. That's considered bad form if the edges of your subject touch the edge of the frame. It causes tension. So I'm going to lift this up. Because her gaze is going up, I'm going to leave a little more room above her head than I might normally. Too much room above the head is called headroom, and if the space doesn't seem intentional, then it just feels like a bad frame or a bad composition. The way that I would look at it is, where is the focus? And for me, the focus is on her eyes, maybe her face in general in this area. And I would say that falls nicely on the top 1/3 line. So the height is pretty good, but instead of having the crop come this direction, I'm going to actually leave some space behind her and bring the crop in on this side. That sets up a really kind of unusual feel to this photo because she's looking away now. She's looking off outside a window or off away from us, and it sets up sort of an interesting question as to what's going on in this photo. So for me, this seems like a satisfactory crop. I would check the check, or you could just hit return on your keyboard. The next thing that we need to think about is brightness contrast. And to get to brightness contrast, you want to use your adjustment layer down here, click on it, and go to brightness contrast. I would increase the brightness a lot, and we're looking at the background, not her. It'll definitely over brighten her. Then I'm going to temporarily turn that off, and this isn't something I showed you in class, but it'll save you a lot of time when it comes to painting out her or blocking her with a black brush. Instead, click back on layer 1 and go to the quick selection tool. You remember that one. We used that in the baby hands exercise. Now pull that over her. Make sure it's in plus in case you need to go back and grab another edge, and go up to refine edge. Oops, we can see right away that we're missing part of her eye. So we need to go back and grab that because it's important to have all parts of her selected. All right, refine edge. I probably wouldn't feather too much, maybe a hair, give a little teeny bit of smoothing. We're just refining our selection, okay? Now what we can do with this selection is pretty cool. We're going to go back and turn on our brightness contrast layer and actually click on the layer mask. Now go into your toolbox and click on the paint bucket. It might be hiding under the gradient tool, and if it is, click and hold and then select the paint bucket. Now all you have to do is just click inside your selection area. Oops, we have white selected. Make sure you have black. Also make sure the mode is normal. The opacity is 100, and click right inside of there, and look at how quickly we were able to block all of her. Command D as in dog. Command D will get rid of those dots or marching ants or selection indicators. So now look at how much time we saved by selecting her and using that selection to create our mask on the layer. This is looking pretty good. The next thing that we did in class that I think would really help this image is we created a black and white layer and then blended it back on top of her to create some really interesting contrast. To do that, click back on your adjustment layer and select black and white. I upped the reds and the yellows just a little bit to brighten up her face, clicked OK, and then blended that back using soft light, one of my most favorite blending modes. If we click on and off the eyeball, though, you can see that we've really lost a lot of information in her hair. I would go back and get my brush. I'd probably go to about 50% opacity, and I would simply paint or block some of that effect of the black and white blending layer so that we can regain the texture, because her hair has beautiful texture and we don't want to hide it with just a black shape. There, it's looking pretty good. I would say this image could be done just the way it is. You could do another black and white layer if you wanted to, and then ease back on your opacity if you wanted to really give a little bit, just barely dappled in color kind of effect. It's almost a black and white photo. This is before, this is after, and that's really a matter of taste and up to you. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching, and please check out my other tutorials. Thanks, and see you later.